Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1933 comedy slapstick Sons of the Desert.
Oh, the suspense is just killing me. Have courage, Lottie. Let's not think of the worst. Well, I try not to, but...
Hey, there's no reason to worry. You haven't even seen the review yet. I might have actually enjoyed the film. You should stick around and find out. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Sons of the Desert is a Laurel and Hardy film, meaning it stars Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, also starring Mae Bush as Mrs. Hardy and Dorothy Christie as Mrs. Laurel. Now, this is widely regarded as their most quintessential feature film. They did a lot of shorts together as well, but I guess that this is their pinnacle. This is the best of their career when it comes to feature films. It showcases classic domestic misunderstanding humor, physical comedy, as well as verbal comedy and character-driven jokes. This movie captures the early 1930s American humor and culture. It features fraternal lodges, which I'm sure a lot of today's society is unfamiliar with, and domestic comedy tropes. Now, this is the first bit of media that I've ever seen of Laurel and Hardy's. I've never seen any of their shorts. I've never seen any of their feature films before. And I will say it's not really what I expected. Now, I can see how this movie would have been considered hilarious during the 1930s. It was different times back then. The family dynamic was different. The way women treated men were different. Women did not have the power that they have in relationships that they do today. So I can see how this would be funny back then, where it's a man who pretends like he has the power, but actually doesn't have the power in a relationship. And today, I mean, that would probably be considered normal. But back then, I'm sure a female wielding power over a man was probably seen as comical. I don't know. I'm assuming that's why this movie is supposed to be funny, because I didn't really find it all that hilarious. And I think it started off really poorly for me. So in the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to Laurel and Hardy's character. They are at this fraternal lodge called the Sons of the Desert. I'm really not sure what this lodge is for or what they are exactly supposed to be doing. It seems like they're just a bunch of group of friends who get together and have meetings, but I don't know what the meetings are or what the point of it is. But they're going to have this convention in Chicago. Laurel and Hardy live in California, and Stan Laurel's character is afraid to tell his wife that he wants to go to Chicago because he doesn't think his wife will let him. And then Hardy's character says that he wears the pants in the family, so it doesn't matter what his wife wants because he's going to do it anyway. So they get like drunk, and then when they get home, there's this mix-up as to, they live next to each other, and there's this mix-up as to like what apartment they're supposed to be going into. Most of the mix-up is on Laurel's part, where he like stumbles into the wrong apartment, and then he gets kicked out, and then he can't get into his apartment because he's locked out and his wife's away. So then he tries to go into the other apartment and realizes he's in the wrong apartment again. It goes on for a very long time, and the first couple gags in this movie go on way too long, to where even if I thought it was funny at first, it's like, okay, let's go on to something different. Like, I'm over this already. So it's just like this going back and forth trying to get into this apartment. At the same time, Hardy's character is trying to tell his wife that he wants to go to this lodge meeting in Chicago. Now, his wife, who seems like a very reasonable person, I think she's almost supposed to be painted as a villain in this movie. She's a very reasonable person. She basically says you can't, I mean, she's wielding a knife. She's like shaking a knife at Hardy. So I think that's also supposed to be funny, where she's like, this is the whole thing of the woman wearing the pants in the family. She's shaking a knife at him, and she's basically saying, look, you can't go because you promised that we would go to a trip in the mountains, and I've been looking forward to this. I planned the whole trip. All you had to do was like agree to go. Everything has been done by me. I'm looking forward to it, so like you can't go to this lodge trip because you've already promised that we're going to the mountains. Now, of course, Hardy doesn't care about this because he cares about himself and about what he wants. And even Laurel is like, you can't go because you promised your wife you would go to the mountains. And Hardy's like, I'm going to this lodge meeting. I don't care what I have to do, basically. So already, right off the bat, Hardy pretty much seems like he's a jerk in this movie. I don't know if that's also supposed to be the funny part, that he comes off as a jerk, but I don't know. So he devises, he has this like this verbal argument with his wife. Now at the same time, Laurel's character also is trying to convince his wife to go, but his wife seems a little bit more stern in the fact that he's not going. But I think it's mostly focused on Hardy and his wife here. So the next scene, we're showing Hardy wearing like a what is it, like a heating pad on his head, or maybe it's like an ice pack. I don't know. There's something on his head. It's either ice pack or a heat pack, and his feet are like in this bucket, and he's shivering. And his wife is like, "Oh no, poor dear. It must have been the argument we had. You've had a nervous breakdown." And this is also like, okay, maybe in the 1930s, this is what could have passed as like a nervous breakdown, but I don't know. This doesn't, I mean, in today's world, this doesn't, this seems very dated, and it wasn't funny to me. It almost seemed like it was offensive, to be honest, that this is what like a nervous breakdown to them would look like, and the nervous breakdown came from an argument in which he was wrong about. It's basically him just trying to control his wife and make his wife do what he wants. So he's pretending to have this nervous breakdown. He's pretending to be sick because Laurel has decided that he's going to bring a doctor in, and their plan is that they're going to have this doctor tell them that all Hardy needs is a nice trip to Hawaii to rest and to calm his nerves and to kind of get away from the world. Now, as luck would have it, Hardy's wife doesn't like to fly, so she doesn't want to go on this trip with them to Hawaii. Oh my god. Can you imagine a doctor tells your husband or your wife that you have to go to Hawaii, and you choose not to go on that trip? But anyway, so she decides not to go, and the ruse, of course, is that they're not actually going to Hawaii, that they're going to Chicago to go to this lodging club meeting that they're having. Now, I don't know. The whole idea of a doctor coming in and prescribing a trip to Hawaii and a wife just believing it and going with it is also kind of insulting to me a little bit. Like I said, maybe the 1930s humor, they thought of women differently. You could just tell a woman anything and they would believe it. Maybe they felt like women weren't educated. Maybe they weren't that educated. I don't know, but it's very insulting and not very funny to me. I thought the whole premise was ridiculous. So they end up going to Chicago, of course, because the doctor told them to go to Hawaii. And they go to this lodge meeting. The lodge meeting is probably the most cringy of the whole of this whole movie, and it's really because of one particular guy who is, I'm assuming he's drunk. The 1930s as a whole is an era of people who are drunk and acting foolish, and it's supposed to be funny because they're drunk. I've said this before in other reviews, like in today's day and age, you don't get that as much because alcoholism is serious. It is a disease. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, when you have alcoholics, you have people who are angry, who can be abusive, who can be terrible. And I grew up in a world where I had family members, extended family members, who were terrible drunks. I've had family members who have died of cirrhosis of the liver. So when I see 1930s movies and I see movies like this where alcoholism is funny and these people are funny because they're drunk and they're acting silly and stupid, it rubs me the wrong way, really. I'm not a fan of it personally. I can see how other people would be. In the 1930s, it wasn't probably as well known the effects of alcoholism and how bad alcoholism could be. We're in the seat of the Great Depression still, so clearly they're not going to want to show angry alcoholics on screen. They want everything to kind of be lighthearted to take your mind off of the Great Depression. But the guy in this, he's just really cringy and really weird and not funny. He's very over the top. And the whole lodge thing, I just don't understand. It's just a bunch of guys who are getting drunk and acting foolish with each other, and that's just not my type of thing. So I didn't really understand the whole lodge thing. I thought it was really bad. But then the end of the movie is kind of funny. The premise of what happens at the end is kind of funny, where the boat that they were supposed to go on to Hawaii, actually the news gets back that it has sunk in the ocean. Now the wives get news of this, and of course they're terrified. They go down to like where the I'm guessing either where the news people are or where everyone's gathering around to see if their family members are okay. They're hysterical. They don't know what's going on. They're afraid that their husbands have perished or something bad has happened to them. And of course, Laurel and Hardy know nothing about this because they've been in Chicago. They haven't watched the news. And they just show up. And they show up with these like little mandolin things. I think they're mandolins, but they show up with these little things and they're playing Hawaiian songs. And they're like, da, 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 da. And they're like happy. And they get home and their wives aren't there because their wives are worried sick about them. And they see a newspaper that says their ship has sunk. So they're like, oh, well, like our wives can't see us now because they think that our ship is sunk. So they decide that they're going to hide up in the attic in, I think it's Hardy's apartment, Hardy's place, which is a whole other thing. But so they get up in the attic, and when the girls get home, they hear the husbands like going up to the attic or going into the room where the attic's located, and they sneak back there. They open the door. Now there's a ladder that goes to the attic. This is just a little closet area and a ladder that goes up to the attic, and the wife opens the door and she looks around the room. She doesn't go up the stairs. She doesn't look in the attic. She just looks around the room. She's like, well, no one's in there, so I guess we just heard things. No, they're up in the attic. Just go up there, look. So they hide away in the attic for a little while. But while they're doing this, there's like the girls go to some movie house or something. And for some reason at this movie house, they show scenes from the lodge meeting that these guys had. Or I don't know exactly what this movie house thing was and why they went there, but it's showing footage of this Sons of the Desert Lodge meeting. And this is probably the funniest part of the whole movie for me, is that when they're showing this footage, Laurel and Hardy are just kind of like dancing in this parade and like beating a drum and like having fun. And they see them on the screen and they obviously realize that their husbands did not go to Hawaii, that they went to Chicago. And they go home and they hear like a crash upstairs, and they realize that like Laurel and Hardy have been hiding out upstairs in the attic. Before they realize that they're in the attic though, Laurel and Hardy are able to escape, and after they escape, they decide that they're just going to move on with the story that they were in Hawaii and that they were not in Chicago. Now the wives have this bet on which husband's going to lie and which husband's going to tell the truth. And so they're questioning Laurel and Hardy, and they're like, yeah, no, we were at the convention and all this stuff. And then finally, Laurel's wife like says, look, I want you to tell me the 100% truth. Were you at this place in Hawaii, or were you at the convention in Chicago? And he finally says that they were at the convention in Chicago. And then for some reason, Laurel's wife like takes this as a huge victory that her husband didn't lie to her, which... Like, he actually did lie to you. Like, he lied to you because he wasn't in Hawaii. He was in Chicago. You questioned him now and asked him about it, and now that he pretty much knows that he was caught, he told you the truth. But yes, he did lie to you. There was a lie there. So Hardy's wife, apparently they have like 1 million dishes in their house, and she just like gathers all these dishes up and just starts throwing them at Hardy, and he ends up like having black eyes from like her just like lobbing dishes at him, which I'm also guessing that this was supposed to be funny during the 1930s. It's not. It's spousal abuse. Even, I mean, I get that he lied to you, but I mean, come on, there's obviously some issues going on here if your way of handling that is trying to murder him with dishes. So she ends up like lobbing dishes at him, and then Laurel's wife is like super nice, and at the end of the movie he's like, she said something that stuck with me, and like honesty is the best policy or something really dumb, and but you were only honest because you were caught. What's the point of this movie? I don't know. So to hear that this is like the quintessential Laurel and Hardy movie, at least what I understand, this is like their best movie they ever did. This is like the one that kind of set the stage for future comedies to come. I get it. I mean, if you look at comedies from other eras, even from today. You can see some of this Laurel and Hardy stuff in there, with like the wife and husband dynamic a little bit. Not so much anymore, but from the 50s, from the like I Love Lucy era and stuff like that, you can see like the what this movie had for the future of comedies in movies. But honestly, in today's world, I think it just ages poorly. I didn't think it was funny at all, almost, except for the part where they're on camera dancing at the dancing in the parade. Besides that, I didn't find this movie very funny. Oh, there's also another scene in the beginning that I forgot to mention, which is just so boring and so hard to watch, and it just goes on forever. And it's a scene where Laurel is eating like fake plastic fruit. And he picks up an apple and he like takes a bite out of it and he's chewing on it, and then he takes another bite out of it and he's chewing on that, and the camera like for some reason makes sure it focuses on the fact that he's chewing, and it just sits there on him and he's just sitting there chewing, watching to make sure no one's watching him. And then he takes like a third bite out of another piece of fruit, and it feels like this goes on for like 20 minutes. It doesn't, because the movie is like an hour and 6 minutes long, so it only goes on for a couple minutes, but it feels like the scene goes just on forever. It drags, and it's not funny like in any way. Maybe it was funny back then, but if you pick up like I look at this from a standpoint to where if I picked up a piece of plastic fruit, first of all, the weight of it, I'm gonna know it's plastic, and second of all, I'm gonna know when I bite into it that it's plastic. So like, why is this supposed to be funny? If he bit into it once, realized it was plastic, made some kind of shocked face, put it down, and make sure no one was watching him, then maybe it would be a little bit funny. But the fact that we're supposed to believe he doesn't know this is plastic fruit that he's eating is absolutely absurd and so dumb. And then, like, he's finally caught by Hardy eating the plastic fruit. He's like, hey, look, that's not real fruit, that's plastic, it's fake. And then the wife says, what's Laurel doing over there? And Hardy says, oh, he's eating the fake fruit. And she says, that's where it's been going. I lost 3 apples this week. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, are you serious? Oh, man. First of all, the fruit is only missing when Laurel is at your house. And second of all, like, how does he not understand that this is plastic fruit? This movie was not that funny to me. I will say I do enjoy the relationship between Laurel and Hardy. They work off each other very well. You can tell they're friends in real life, that they work very well together. They have great chemistry together. When they're just like kind of doing their thing together, they're talking back and forth to each other. They're feeding off each other, the lines off each other. They're doing really good. Like they have a really great working rapport together. Like they can be really funny when they're just talking to each other. It's these situations that they're in, and it's these gags that they're supposed to be doing that just aren't funny. I don't know how anyone in today's world can find any of this to be funny, to be honest. That being said, it's still not. At least it's not. There's no blackface in it. So 1 point for not having blackface in a comedy. I'm going to give this movie, I think I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. It's not my favorite. It's definitely not my least favorite movie of all time. It's still charming. It still has some humor to it, but definitely not what I was expecting, and not as funny as I was hoping it would be. But it's still going to get a 6.5 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Queen Christina. Thank you. Have a great day.